Hi everybody, in today's video we have a TAG Heuer CT1110-0. It is a quartz watch, which you can tell from the running seconds hand there at the 6 o'clock position. It is a chronograph, but the hands are not aligned. The white hand is a seconds hand, the red hand is a minutes counter. That's the tenths counter there. And over there we have the hour counter. The top pusher on this watch is broken off. I have put a fresh battery in here just to make sure that it's working. I'm going to use the tip of these plastic tweezers to press on the post that can activate the chronograph. You can see the seconds hand ticking there. And you'll note that the 10th hand isn't running. That's to save the battery. When you press either the split time function or the stop button, the 10th hand will rotate to the recorded position. A lot of people mistake the red hand for a GMT hand, which I can understand. Once the seconds recorder for the chronograph ticks over 60 seconds, that red hand will tick over to record 1 minute. This TAG Heuer reference is similar to what is often called the Jason Bourne watch by fans. I actually don't know if he wore a blue one or a black one. If you know, maybe you can enlighten us in the comments. The chronograph appears to be working okay, so we'll go ahead and stop this. Or there we go, try to, nope. You can see why the pusher is actually handy. Okay, and then we'll reset it. And clearly that's not aligned properly. Usually it's just a series of button presses to get those hands in the right place. But let's take a look here at the pusher. Down in the tube there, you can just sort of make out the tip of what's left of the post. It should be just a little bit longer with some threads to feed into the pusher button. There should also be some gaskets to help with the water resistance down in there. Essentially, this post is a glorified screw, and the slotted side is on the inside of the watch. I mentioned already I had put in a battery to test the operation. I did find there was a missing screw for the battery strap there. We'll remove the case clamps, one at the bottom, the other at the top of the watch near the battery. Here's a close look at the clamps, one of them on top of the screw that secures it. Now I need to release the stem. I've got the crown unthreaded, not pulled out, just unthreaded. I'm going to press slightly with this tool and it comes out pretty easily. I haven't really dabbled much in quartz watches. I just noticed something though. These coils are screwed in individually, so you can individually, they're kind of modular, so you don't have to do any solder work. That's a nice touch. Here's that battery strap that's missing a screw. I'll look around to see if I have one that will fit. I certainly wouldn't want to give it back that way. That's a lot of pressure. I'm not going to service this, but it would be interesting to service one of these in need. Well, let's move onward and uncase this. We'll put the case pad over upside down and we'll flip the watch over and see if we're going to have to do any percussion here to get, nope, it lifted right off. And now we'll get this post, or what's left of the post, out of the chronograph tube here. And, well, I don't know if you saw that, but that was pretty easy. Just nothing holding it in there. This is our replacement part. It more or less comes as a full assembly, including a new tube. But I'm just going to unscrew the post from the button, and we'll transfer that over to the existing chronograph tube. So we'll have a new post, a new pusher button, and we'll also use the gaskets that are included on this new assembly. So the pusher is now separated. And if you look closely down inside that button there, you can see a small tube that the post threads into. And I'm going to pull out this little spring, which wraps around the outside of that little tube to give it the return action. And here you can see the difference between the broken one and the new one, where the threaded tip is sheared off. I don't know how it broke off. The current owner bought it in this condition. Hopefully he got a pretty good deal. So first we're going to put these gaskets in the tube. There's a smaller gasket Going to sort of manipulate down at the bottom of that tube. Trying a variety of tools here. And now we'll go for the second gasket that goes on top of that. They're treated in or coated in silicone to help with the water resistance, which also makes them a little sticky to work with. But just making sure that they're flat and is pushed far down to the bottom. And now there's a small little washer that goes on top of those two gaskets. Just making very sure everything's flat and placed correctly. Now we'll just feed our post through here and through those gaskets without, hopefully without pushing them out of place too much. I don't think I need to explain why those gaskets are important. I'm going to put some Rodico here to hold that in place a little bit while I get this spring on top here. Just on the out, obviously around that post, and then around this tube inside the pusher button. You saw how easily that post slipped out earlier, so that Rodico is pretty handy. So I'm holding the pusher button with the tip of my finger here, and I'm just trying to get this post threaded, just started. It's a little tricky holding that button at the right plane, just sort of shifting it around slightly until I get the threads to catch. It's just a little awkward to hold. It's maybe part of the problem. So I want to get this appropriately tight, but not shear the threads off again. I've had some watches with some screws that, frankly, I was stunned they were tightened to the point that they were and not broken. We are talking about watches here, people. It's feeling pretty close. Actually feels pretty nice, similar to the other one. You can see the tips of those posts that actually come in contact with the chronograph module and the movement. And now we're going to clean up the inside of this crystal and blow it off. Get this thing recased. Carefully get that crown tube around the movement. Give it a flip over so we can get things secured on the movement side. Now, I don't know a better way for those case clamps, but I find those things always be a pain. We'll go ahead and get the stem secured in here. And I just kind of drop them in there and manipulate them to where they need to be. This may not be the right way. I'm going to be honest with you. If there's a smarter way to do this, please let me know in the comments, because it's kind of random how they fall in there, and sometimes I'd have to remove them and try again. But I mean, it's not the hardest thing to do. It's just, I wonder if surely there's a more efficient way to do this. So we'll get our screws started. I don't tighten the first screw down all the way. I like to kind of tighten it down part way and then back it off a little bit, and then get the second screw in so that one side isn't torqued before the other screw is secure. So I guess progressively tighten those screws down. Generally, I do that on most things with multiple screws. I'm not going to tighten the first screw all the way down. That includes, movement bridges. So now we'll snug both these down. Now let's address this battery strap. I've got my little box of screws, and lucky enough I found one that works perfectly. And we'll blow off any remaining dust. Get our case back on here. And We'll check our operation just to make sure that works as intended. Everything seems to be working as expected. Well, now we'll move on to aligning those hands. I already had this unthreaded, but you would unthread the crown and pull it into the second position, and then hold down top chrono button. You'll see that the hour counter spins. And if you go too far, you can just do a single press and it'll advance 1 hour at a time. Now, I can't see quite as well as you because there's some glare, so I'm going to just check it in my view here. Then we'll move on to adjusting the minute counter. And we do that by holding down the bottom chrono button, and you'll see that that spins. And again, you can do a single press once that starts and it'll advance 1 minute at a time. Now we'll pull the crown into the third position to adjust the seconds and the tenths for quarter. This time holding down the top button moves the seconds hand. And again, you can move it step by step or hold it down and spin it more quickly. Next, we hold down the bottom button with the crown still in the third position, and you can see that the tenths counter spins, rotates. And again, a single press will advance it 1 step at a time. So we'll check this over, and that looks pretty good. Let's test the chronograph. We're going to press in the crown all the way. And we'll stop, and you'll see the tenths counter there, and we'll restart, stop, start again. Pressing the bottom button while it's running is a split timer. You would press it again to get it back to the current timing, and then obviously when it's stopped, it's the reset button. So yeah, that's a pretty cool watch. That's going to do it for today, and thanks for sticking with it, and hope to see you in the next one.